Jinho opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt badly and everything around him looked strange. The walls were made of some kind of blue crystal that glowed softly in the dark. He tried to sit up, but his body felt heavy and sore. Where was he? The last thing he remembered was working on the mining ship with his crew. They had been digging for rare metals on a small planet when the alarm started going off. Then there was a bright light, and everything went black. Jinho looked around his small room. It was clearly a prison cell. The crystal walls were smooth and had no cracks. There was a small bed, a tiny sink, and nothing else. The air smelled clean but felt cold against his skin. He walked to one wall and pressed his hands against it. The crystal was warm to touch, but would not move at all. He was trapped. Footsteps echoed outside his cell. Jinho stepped back as two tall figures appeared beyond the crystal wall. They were not human. Their skin was pale green and they had 4 arms each. Their eyes were large and black like deep pools of water. One of the creatures spoke in a language Jinho did not know. Its voice sounded like music mixed with the wind. The other creature answered back in the same strange language. Then the first creature looked directly at Jinho and spoke in perfect English. "The human is awake. Queen Nara will want to see him soon." "How long has he been sleeping?" asked the second creature. 3 days. The shock beam hit his ship hard. He is lucky to be alive. Jinho felt his heart beating fast. "Where am I? What happened to my crew?" The first creature tilted its head. "You are on the royal ship of Queen Nara, ruler of the Valoran Empire. Your mining vessel was destroyed when it entered our space without permission." "Destroyed?" Jinho's voice cracked. "What about my friends? Were there other survivors?" The creature's large eyes showed no emotion. "You are the only one left." Jinho felt like someone had hit him in the chest. His crew of 12 people, all gone. They had families back on Earth, children who would never see their parents again. He sat down hard on the small bed and put his head in his hands. "The Queen collects rare things from across the galaxy," the second creature said. "Humans are very uncommon in this part of space. You are valuable to her." "Valuable how?" Jinho looked up. "That is for the Queen to decide. Food will come soon. You must stay strong." The creatures walked away, their footsteps getting quieter, until Jinho was alone again. Hours passed. Jinho tried to make sense of what had happened. He was somewhere far from Earth on an alien ship ruled by someone called Queen Nara. His friends were dead and he was now a prisoner. The situation felt like a nightmare he could not wake up from. A slot opened in one wall and a tray of food slid through. The meal looked strange but smelled good. There were purple fruits, some kind of bread, and a bowl of soup that glowed slightly green. Jinho was hungry, so he ate everything. The food tasted better than it looked. Later, he heard more voices outside his cell. This time, there were many different creatures talking. Jinho pressed his ear to the wall to listen. "The Queen wants to add more specimens to her collection," said a voice that sounded like grinding rocks. "She already has creatures from over 50 worlds," replied another voice, this one high and musical, "but never a human. They come from so far away. The Queen is very excited. I heard humans are weak but very stubborn. They do not break easily. All species break eventually. The Queen always finds a way." Jinho did not like the sound of that. He moved away from the wall and sat on his bed. What did they mean by specimens and breaking? Was he going to be some kind of test subject? The next day, more creatures came to look at him. They stood outside his cell and stared at him like he was an animal in a zoo. Some took pictures with strange devices. Others made notes on glowing tablets. One creature looked like a giant insect with bright red wings. It clicked and buzzed as it talked. "How tall is it?" "About 6 feet," answered a creature that looked like a walking tree with silver bark. "And the muscle structure?" "Weaker than most species, but more flexible. See how it moves." Jinho felt angry. They were talking about him like he was not even there. "I can hear you," he said loudly. The creatures stopped talking and looked surprised. The insect creature buzzed louder. "It speaks our common language?" "Most intelligent species learn quickly," said the tree creature. Humans are supposed to be very adaptable. Interesting. The Queen will want to test this. They left after taking more pictures. Jin-ho felt frustrated and scared. These aliens saw him as nothing more than a curiosity. They did not care that he had thoughts and feelings just like they did. That evening, the same green creatures from before came back. "The Queen has decided," one of them said. "Tomorrow you will be moved to the entertainment sector." "What kind of entertainment?" Jin-ho asked. "The Queen enjoys watching different species interact with her collection of beasts. It helps her understand their strengths and weaknesses." Jin-ho felt cold fear spread through his body. "You mean she wants me to fight monsters?" "The Queen prefers to call them challenges. Some prisoners survive. Others provide valuable data about their species before they die." "That's murder." The creature's expression did not change. "That is survival. Only the strong deserve to live. In the Queen's empire, the weak serve other purposes." After they left, Jin-ho paced around his small cell. He had to find a way out of this situation. But how could one human escape from an entire alien ship? As he tried to think of a plan, he heard a sound from somewhere deep in the ship. It was like a roar, but also like singing. The sound was so deep and powerful that Jin-ho felt it in his bones. Whatever made that noise was very large and very alive. Other prisoners in nearby cells became quiet when they heard it. Even the guards seemed nervous. Jin-ho realized that tomorrow he might meet whatever creature made that terrifying sound. He lay on his bed and stared at the glowing ceiling. Somewhere out there, his family and friends on Earth had no idea what had happened to him. They probably thought he was still mining asteroids in a nearby system. Jin-ho closed his eyes and tried to stay calm. If he was going to survive whatever came next, he needed to be smart and brave. The Queen wanted to test him, but maybe he could surprise her. He had no idea that across the galaxy, humans were known for doing exactly that. Jin-ho woke up to the sound of metal doors opening. 4 guards stood outside his cell, each from a different alien species. One looked like a giant spider, another had scales like a fish, and the third had fur covering its entire body. The 4th guard was one of the green creatures he had seen before. "Time to go, human," said the green guard. "The Queen is ready for you." They put strange metal rings around Jin-ho's wrists. The rings glowed blue and felt warm against his skin. When he tried to pull them apart, they would not move. "Energy restraints," explained the spider creature. "Do not try to remove them. They will hurt you if you do." The guards led Jin-ho through long hallways filled with more crystal walls. Other prisoners watched him from their cells as he passed by. He saw creatures he had never imagined before. Some had wings, others had tentacles, and many had shapes that made no sense to his human eyes. They walked for what felt like an hour before reaching a massive door. The door was made of black metal and had strange symbols carved into it. When it opened, Jin-ho gasped at what he saw inside. The room was enormous, bigger than any building Jin-ho had ever seen on Earth. It was shaped like a bowl with seats going up the sides in circles. In the center was a flat area covered in sand. Above everything was a dome made of clear crystal that showed the stars outside. "Welcome to Queen Nara's personal arena," said the green guard. "This is where she tests her collection." Thousands of alien creatures filled the seats around the arena. They were all watching and waiting for something to happen. At the very top of the arena sat a figure on a throne that sparkled like diamonds. Queen Nara was beautiful in a terrifying way. Her skin was pure white like snow and her hair was long and silver. She had 6 arms and her eyes glowed bright red. When she moved, her body seemed to flow like water. She wore a crown made of what looked like captured starlight. The guards brought Jin-ho to a small room under the arena. Inside were more prisoners waiting in cages. Jin-ho was put into an empty cage next to a man who looked human. "You are human too," Jin-ho said with surprise and relief. The man looked up. He was older than Jin-ho with gray hair and tired eyes. "My name is Taimin. I have been here for 6 months." "6 months? How are you still alive?" Taimin pointed to scars on his arms and chest. I was a diplomat before this. I learned how to survive by watching others. The queen likes to test different species against her beasts. What kind of beasts? Creatures from all over the galaxy. Some are fast, some are strong, some are smart. The queen studies how each species fights or runs or hides. She wants to understand what makes us weak. Jinho looked around at the other prisoners. Do many survive? Some do. The queen keeps the interesting ones alive for more tests. The boring ones. Taemin did not finish his sentence. A loud horn sounded above them. Through the bars of their cages they could see into the arena. A creature that looked like a giant cat with purple fur was released from one side. From the other side came a prisoner Jinho had seen in the hallways. The alien had blue skin and walked on 4 legs. Queen Nara's voice echoed through the arena. Her words were translated into many languages at once so everyone could understand. Let us see how the Zephyrian handles my shadow cat. The blue alien tried to run, but the cat was much faster. The crowd cheered as the cat chased its prey around the arena. The alien used its 4 legs to jump and dodge, but the cat was learning its patterns. The queen is taking notes, Taemin whispered. She studies everything, how fast they run, how they think, what they do when they are scared. The fight lasted 10 minutes before the shadow cat caught the blue alien. The crowd cheered louder. Queen Nara made more notes on a glowing tablet. Next, called the queen. Guards brought out another prisoner, this one covered in thick armor like skin. The beast this time was something that looked like a flying snake with razor-sharp teeth. The armored alien was stronger and fought back, but the snake was smarter. It waited for the right moment and struck at a weak spot between the armor plates. Jinho watched in horror as prisoner after prisoner was brought out to face different creatures. Some survived by being clever, others by being fast or strong, but the queen studied them all with the same cold interest. She collects data about every species, Taemin explained. The queen wants to know how to control or defeat anyone who might oppose her empire. What about humans? What does she know about us? Not much. That is why you are valuable. I was the first human she captured. You are the second. A new voice spoke from behind them. Actually, you are the third. They turned to see another human in a cage across the room. This one was younger, maybe 20 years old, with black hair and scared eyes. My name is Baekun, he said quietly. I was captured 2 weeks ago from a research station. Jinho felt a mix of sadness and hope. Sadness that more humans had been caught, but hope that he was not alone. What has she learned about us? Jinho asked. Taemin and Baekun looked at each other. Humans are different, Taemin said. We do not give up easily. Even when we are scared, we keep trying to find a way out. The queen finds this irritating. She has tested us against many creatures, Baekun added, but we keep surprising her. Humans think in ways other species do not. Before Jinho could ask more questions, a guard appeared at his cage. It was a creature that looked like a walking crystal with many sharp edges. The human called Jinho. You are next. Jinho felt his heart racing. What creature will I face? The crystal guard's voice sounded like breaking glass. Tomorrow you will meet the Krokan, the queen's most special beast. Taemin grabbed the bars of his cage. Not the Krokan, please choose a different creature. What is the Krokan? Jinho asked. The crystal guard seemed to smile, though it was hard to tell with a face made of crystal. The Krokan has killed every prisoner it has ever faced. No one has survived even 5 minutes with it. Why is it so dangerous? It is not just dangerous, it is perfect. The queen's greatest success. The guard walked away, leaving Jinho alone with his fear. Around him, the other prisoners became very quiet. Even the alien creatures in nearby cages seemed afraid. Jinho, Taemin whispered. The Krokan is not like the other beasts. It thinks, it plans, and it has never shown mercy to anyone. That night, Jinho could not sleep. He could hear the Krokan somewhere deep in the ship. Its roar was different from the other creatures. It sounded almost like it was singing, but the song was full of sadness and anger. Tomorrow he would face this perfect killer, and everyone expected him to die. Jinho woke up to the sound of the morning alarm. His mouth was dry and his hands were shaking. Today was the day he would face the Krokan. Guards came for him early. They gave him water and some bread, but he could barely eat. His stomach felt sick with fear. The other human prisoners, Taemin and Baekun, watched him with worried eyes. "Remember," Taemin whispered as the guards put the energy restraints on Jinho. "Humans survive by thinking differently. Do not fight the way it expects." "Good luck," Baekun said quietly. "We will be watching." The guards led Jinho through different hallways this time. These walls were darker, and the air felt colder. They passed several thick doors with warning signs written in many languages. Behind the doors, Jinho could hear growling and scratching sounds. "This is where the queen keeps her most dangerous creatures," explained one guard, a tall alien with purple skin and no eyes. "The Krokan lives at the end of this hall." They walked to the last door. It was twice as thick as the others and had more warning signs. Strange sounds came from behind it, not just roars or growls, but something that sounded almost like singing, mixed with crying. "Is it hurt?" Jinho asked. The guard tilted its head. "Hurt? No. The Krokan is perfectly healthy. That sound is just what it does." They brought Jinho to a preparation room next to the arena. Through a window he could see the crowd gathering in the seats above. There were even more aliens today than yesterday. Word had spread that a human would face the Krokan. Queen Nara sat on her throne looking excited. Her red eyes glowed brighter than before, and all 6 of her arms moved as she spoke to her advisors. She kept looking toward the arena entrance where Jinho would soon appear. A creature that looked like a walking tree with silver bark approached Jinho. Its voice was soft and kind, different from the harsh voices of the guards. "My name is He-Jin," it said. "I studied different species for the queen. Are you here to examine me before I die?" He-Jin looked around carefully, then moved closer. "I am here to warn you. The Krokan is not what you think it is." "What do you mean?" "I cannot say much. Too many ears are listening. But remember this. The Krokan is very old and very intelligent. It has been forced to do things against its nature for a long time." Before Jinho could ask what that meant, the arena horn sounded. It was time. The guards removed Jinho's energy, restraints, and pushed him through a door into the bright arena. The sand felt soft under his feet and the crowd noise was overwhelming. Thousands of aliens cheered and called out in languages he did not understand. Queen Nara stood up on her throne. Her voice was amplified so everyone could hear it clearly. "Citizens of the Valoran Empire," she announced, "today we test another human against our greatest warrior. The Krokan has never failed to eliminate a threat to our empire. Watch as this weak creature from a distant world learns the price of entering our space." The crowd roared approval. Jinho stood in the center of the arena, turning slowly to look at all the faces staring down at him. Some looked excited, others curious, but none showed any sympathy. A massive door on the opposite side of the arena began to open. The sound of metal grinding against metal echoed through the space. The crowd became quiet, waiting to see the famous Krokan. First came the sound. That strange singing crying that Jinho had heard through the ship. Then a shadow moved in the doorway, something huge and dark. The Krokan stepped into the light and Jinho gasped. It was the most beautiful and terrifying creature he had ever seen. The Krokan stood 3 meters tall on 6 powerful legs. Its body was long like a dragon, but moved with the grace of a giant cat. Its scales changed color as it moved, shifting from deep blue to silver to black like oil on water. But it was the creature's eyes that made Jinho forget to breathe. They were large and golden like amber, and they held an intelligence that seemed ancient and sad. This was not just a beast. This was a being with thoughts and feelings. The Krokan walked slowly toward the center of the arena. Its head turned to look at Queen Nara on her throne, and Jinho saw something flash in those golden eyes. Anger, hatred, but also resignation. like someone who had given up hope long ago. "Kill the human," Queen Nara commanded. Her voice was sharp and cold. "Show our enemies what happens when they oppose us." The crowd leaned forward, expecting to see Jin-Ho torn apart within seconds, but the Krokan did not attack. Instead, it stopped 5 meters away from Jin-Ho and tilted its massive head to one side, studying him. Jin-Ho stood very still. Every instinct told him to run, but there was nowhere to go. He looked into the Krokan's eyes and saw something he did not expect. Curiosity. "Kill him now," Queen Nara repeated, her voice louder and more angry. The Krokan turned its head to look at the Queen, then back at Jin-Ho. It took another step closer, lowering its head until it was at Jin-Ho's eye level. The creature's breath was warm against his face. Jin-Ho did something that surprised everyone, including himself. He did not move away. Instead, he slowly raised his hand toward the Krokan's face. "Hello," he whispered. "I will not hurt you." The Krokan's eyes widened. It stared at Jin-Ho's outstretched hand for a long moment, then did something no one in the arena had ever seen before. It lay down. The massive creature lowered its body to the sand and curled around Jin-Ho like a protective wall. Its long neck wrapped gently around the human, and it made a sound that was definitely singing now, not crying. The arena fell completely silent. Queen Nara stood up from her throne, her face twisted with rage and confusion. "What is it doing?" she screamed. "Kill the human. That is your purpose. That is what you were made to do." But the Krokan did not move. It kept its body curled around Jin-Ho, and its golden eyes never left the Queen's face. For the first time, those eyes showed no fear or resignation. They showed defiance. Jin-Ho felt the creature's warm scales against his back. He could feel its heartbeat, slow and steady. He placed his hand on the Krokan's neck and felt the vibration of its singing. "I do not understand," Jin-Ho whispered to the creature. "Why are you protecting me?" The Krokan turned its head to look at him. In its ancient eyes, Jin-Ho saw an answer he somehow understood without words. The creature was tired of being forced to kill. It was tired of being a weapon for someone else's cruelty, and in Jin-Ho it saw something different. Not someone who wanted to use it or control it, but someone who had spoken to it with kindness. Queen Nara was screaming now, her voice echoing through the arena. "Guards, activate the pain controls. Force it to obey." But nothing happened. The Krokan remained curled around Jin-Ho, singing its strange song and staring at the Queen with defiant eyes. For the first time in her long reign, Queen Nara faced a rebellion she could not crush with force or fear. Her perfect weapon had chosen compassion over cruelty. And in that moment, the foundation of her empire began to crack. Hours passed in the arena. Queen Nara had ordered everyone to leave, but the Krokan still refused to move away from Jin-Ho. The creature stayed curled around the human like a living fortress of scales and warmth. Jin-Ho sat against the Krokan's side, feeling safer than he had since his capture. The creature's singing had become softer, more like a lullaby than a cry of pain. Sometimes it would turn its great head to look at him, and Jin-Ho could see intelligence in those golden eyes that was older than human civilization. "You understand me, don't you?" Jin-Ho said quietly. "You know what I'm saying?" The Krokan made a sound that was almost like a purr. It was definitely answering him. Guards appeared at the arena entrances, but they stayed far away. Even the bravest of them were afraid to get close to the Krokan. Jin-Ho could hear them talking in worried voices. "The Queen is furious," said one guard, the spider creature from before. "She wants the human removed immediately." "How are we supposed to do that?" replied another. "The Krokan has never disobeyed before. What if we make it angry? What if it decides to protect other prisoners too? What if they all stop following orders?" Jin-Ho realized something important. The other aliens were scared, not just of the Krokan, but of what its rebellion might mean. If the Queen's strongest weapon could choose to disobey, what about her other creatures? What about her guards and servants? As the day went on, more people came to look at the strange sight in the arena. Word was spreading through the ship that something impossible had happened. The perfect killer had refused to kill. Late in the afternoon, a familiar figure appeared at one of the arena entrances. It was Hye-jin, the tree-like creature who had warned Jin-ho before the fight. She moved carefully toward them, holding a small device that glowed blue. The Krokan watched her approach but did not seem threatened. Instead, it lifted its head and made a questioning sound. "I have something that might help," Hye-jin said quietly. She was close enough now that Jin-ho could see her more clearly. Her silver bark had patterns carved into it, and her eyes were the color of deep forest shadows. "Help with what?" Jin-ho asked, understanding why this happened. The Krokan should not be able to disobey. It has control devices implanted in its brain. They cause terrible pain when it refuses orders. Jin-ho looked at the massive creature curled around him. But it's not in pain now. It seems peaceful. That is what I do not understand. Unless... Hye-jin activated her device and pointed it at both Jin-ho and the Krokan. Numbers and symbols appeared on its screen. Her eyes widened as she read the results. "What is it?" Jin-ho asked. "Your brain patterns. They are interfering with the control signals. Somehow being near you is blocking the pain devices. How is that possible? I have studied many species, but human brains are unique. You have neural pathways that other species do not possess. Perhaps they create some kind of interference field." The Krokan turned to look at Hye-jin's device. It made a sound that was definitely approving, as if it understood what she had discovered. "There is more," Hye-jin continued, checking the readings again. "The Krokan is not what the Queen claims it is. These brain scans show it belongs to a species called the Keepers." Keepers? They were the peacekeepers of the galaxy long ago, before the Velaran Empire existed. They were wise and powerful, and they helped settle disputes between different worlds. But Queen Nara's ancestors captured them and turned them into weapons of war. Jin-ho felt the Krokan's body tense as Hye-jin spoke. The creature's singing became sadder, more mournful. "How many keepers are left?" Jin-ho asked. "I think this one might be the last. The Queen calls it the Krokan, but its real name in the old language means keeper of ancient songs. It remembers what its people used to be." Jin-ho placed his hand on the creature's neck. "Is that why you protected me? Because I treated you like a person instead of a weapon?" The Krokan turned its head and looked directly into Jin-ho's eyes. In that gaze, Jin-ho saw centuries of loneliness and pain, but also hope. For the first time in generations, someone had shown it kindness without expecting anything in return. "The Queen will not let this continue," Hye-jin warned. "She is planning something terrible. Other guards have told me she would rather destroy you both than appear weak." "What kind of guards?" Jin-ho asked. "There are some who are starting to question her methods. A young guard named Sora has been asking why we follow someone who rules through fear. And Dongwu, who maintains the ship's systems, has been secretly helping prisoners when he can. People are starting to think for themselves. The Krokan's rebellion has shown them something important. If the Queen's perfect weapon can choose compassion over cruelty, perhaps they can too." As if responding to their conversation, new voices could be heard from the arena entrances. More guards and crew members were gathering to see the Krokan and Jin-ho, but their voices did not sound angry or threatening. Instead, Jin-ho heard curiosity and even admiration. "Look how peaceful it is," said one voice. "I have never seen the Krokan without rage before. The human is not afraid of it. How is that possible? Maybe the Queen has been wrong about humans. Maybe they are not weak at all." The Krokan heard these voices too. It lifted its head higher and its singing became stronger. For the first time in centuries, it was being seen as something other than a monster. Hye-jin's device beeped with an urgent warning. "The Queen is coming," she said quickly. "With her personal guard and weapons, she plans to end this now." Jin-ho felt his heart racing again. What will she do? She has ordered the arena to be filled with poison gas. She will tell everyone that you and the Krokan killed each other fighting. The Krokan understood the danger too. It rose to its feet and positioned itself between Jin-Ho and the main arena entrance. Its body language changed from peaceful to protective. The ancient creature was ready to fight for its friend. There might be another way, Hyejin said urgently. But it would require the Crocon to break free from all its remaining control devices. The process would be painful and dangerous. Jin-Ho looked up at the massive creature standing guard over him. What do you think? Do you want to be free? The Crocon looked down at him with those wise golden eyes. Then it threw back its head and sang, not the mournful song of a prisoner, but something that sounded like joy and determination combined. The song was so powerful that it echoed through the entire ship. Every creature on board stopped what they were doing to listen. In that song, they heard the voice of freedom calling. Queen Nara's footsteps could be heard approaching the arena. She was screaming orders, but her voice sounded different now. It sounded afraid. The Crocan's song grew louder, and Jin-Ho realized that other voices were joining in. Throughout the ship, prisoners were singing along. Guards were humming the melody. Even some of the Queen's advisors were tapping their feet to the rhythm. The rebellion had begun, and it started with a simple act of kindness between two beings who refused to hate each other. Queen Nara burst into the arena with 20 of her strongest guards. Her face was twisted with rage, and her 6 arms moved wildly as she screamed commands. Behind her came soldiers carrying weapons that glowed with dangerous energy. Enough of this nonsense, she shouted. Her voice echoed off the arena walls, but it no longer carried the same power it once had. If the Crocan will not kill the human, I will kill them both myself. The Crocan stepped forward, placing itself between Jin-Ho and the Queen's forces. Its scales began to change color, shifting from peaceful blue to angry red. The creature's song became a warning growl that made even the bravest guard step backward. You dare threaten me? Queen Nara pointed at the Crocan with 4 of her arms. I made you. I control you. You exist only to serve my will. But something had changed in the Crocan's golden eyes. The fear that had lived there for centuries was gone, replaced by determination and strength. When it looked at Queen Nara now, it no longer saw a master. It saw an enemy of everything good and peaceful in the galaxy. Activate the emergency controls, the Queen ordered her technicians. Maximum pain setting. Force it to submit. Hyejin stepped forward from where she had been hiding. The controls will not work anymore, Your Majesty. The human's presence has disrupted them permanently. Impossible. My scientists assured me the neural implants could never be overcome. Your scientists never tested them against human brain patterns. Humans are unique in ways we are only beginning to understand. Queen Nara's red eyes blazed with fury. Then I will solve this problem the old way. Guards, prepare the poison gas. Generators? If I cannot control the Crocan, I will destroy it. But as the guards moved to follow her orders, something unexpected happened. Many of them hesitated. Some stopped completely and looked at each other with confusion. Why are you not moving? The Queen demanded. A young guard with purple skin and silver markings stepped forward. My name is Sora, Your Majesty. I cannot follow this order. You cannot what? I have watched the Crocan for years. I have seen the pain in its eyes every time it was forced to kill. Today, for the first time I saw it at peace. I will not help you destroy that. More guards began to speak up. The human showed it kindness, said another. Why should we punish kindness? We have been following orders without thinking, added a third. But the Crocan's choice has made us think. Why do we serve someone who rules through fear? Queen Nara looked around wildly as more of her servants began to question her authority. You are all traitors. I will have you executed for this. Who will execute us? Asked Dong Wu, the maintenance worker, as he emerged from one of the arena entrances. Your guards are refusing orders. Your prisoners are singing songs of freedom. Your perfect weapon has chosen friendship over violence. The Queen's face became pale with fear. For the first time in her life, she was powerless. Her empire was built on the idea that she was too strong to oppose, but that idea was crumbling before her eyes. Meanwhile, Jin-Ho noticed something happening to the Crocan. The creature's body began to glow with a soft light that grew brighter by the moment. The remaining control devices in its brain were finally being destroyed by forces beyond the Queen's understanding. "What is happening to it?" Jin-Ho asked Hyejin. "The Kroken is remembering what it truly is. All those years of forced servitude suppressed its natural abilities. Now they are returning." The light around the Kroken became so bright that everyone had to shield their eyes. When it faded, the creature looked different. Its scales now shimmered with all the colors of the rainbow, and its golden eyes held depths of wisdom that seemed to contain the knowledge of 1,000 worlds. The Kroken turned to Jin-Ho and spoke, not in sounds or songs, but directly into his mind with words that felt like warm sunlight. "Thank you, friend Jin-Ho. You have given me back my true self. I am called Keeper of Ancient Songs, and I have been waiting for someone like you for a very long time." Jin-Ho gasped. "You can speak to me in my thoughts?" "All keepers can communicate this way. We were teachers and healers before we became weapons. Now I can be those things again." Queen Nara heard none of this mental conversation, but she could see that the Kroken had somehow become even more powerful. In desperation, she pulled out a personal weapon and aimed it at Jin-Ho. "If I cannot have control, I will have revenge," she screamed. But before she could fire, the Kroken moved faster than anything that large should be able to move. One of its clawed hands gently but firmly took the weapon away from the Queen. It did not hurt her, but its message was clear. Violence would no longer be tolerated. "Guards, arrest her," called Sora. "Queen Nara has threatened an innocent being under our protection." The remaining loyal guards looked confused. They had never been asked to arrest their own queen before, but they had also never seen such clear evidence that she was wrong. "I am your queen," Nara protested. "You cannot do this to me." "You were our queen," replied Dongwu. "But a true leader protects their people and allies. They do not threaten them. The Kroken has shown us what real strength looks like." More prisoners were being released from their cells throughout the ship. Tai Min and Baikun appeared at one of the arena entrances, followed by dozens of other beings who had been kept as specimens or test subjects. "Jin-Ho," Tai Min called out, "the whole ship is joining the rebellion. Word of what happened here has spread everywhere." The Kroken, now calling itself Keeper of Ancient Songs, stood tall in the center of the arena. It began to sing again, but this time the song was different. It was a song of healing and hope that touched the hearts of every being who heard it. "This is a song my people used to sing when conflicts ended," the Keeper explained to Jin-Ho through their mental link. "It helps enemies become friends and helps the wounded heal." As the song continued, something miraculous happened. The various alien species in the arena began to see each other not as competitors or threats, but as fellow beings deserving of respect and kindness. Hyejin approached Queen Nara, who was now sitting on the arena floor looking defeated and confused. "Your Majesty, the rebellion is not about destroying you. It is about building something better. You can choose to be part of that if you wish." "I do not understand," the former queen said weakly. "I ruled through strength. That is how empires survive." "You ruled through fear," Jin-Ho said gently. "But the Keeper has shown us that true strength comes from cooperation and mutual respect." The Keeper of Ancient Songs lowered its great head until it was at Queen Nara's eye level. When it spoke, even she could hear its thoughts. "You have caused much pain, but pain can be healed. Hatred can be replaced with understanding. Will you let us teach you a better way?" For a long moment, Queen Nara stared into the Keeper's wise eyes. Slowly, the anger and fear that had driven her for so long began to fade. In their place came something she had not felt in centuries: curiosity about what life could be like without the need to control everything around her. I do not know how to live without power," she admitted. "Then we will learn together," Jin-Ho said, "all of us." And so began the transformation of the Valoran Empire. It would take time to undo centuries of fear and oppression, but the foundation had been laid in an arena where a beast chose love over violence and a human chose trust over fear. The Keeper of Ancient Songs stood with Jin-Ho at the center of it all, two beings from different worlds who had found friendship in the darkest of places. Their bond would become the symbol of a new age in the galaxy, one where strength was measured not by the ability to destroy, but by the wisdom to protect and nurture all life. As the former prisoners and guards worked together to transform the ship into a vessel of peace rather than war, the keeper sang one final song. It was a song of gratitude for the human who had seen past its fearsome appearance to the gentle soul within. Jin-Ho smiled as he listened, knowing that he had found not just freedom, but a friend who would stand by him as they helped build a better future for everyone in the stars.